Welcome to the Christmas edition of Mrs. Kirk Sits on the Couch and Gives You Reminder Lectures. So this is about quotation marks, as promised, and I'm going to run through the basics really fast. You need to get your Little Brown Handbook out. Go ahead and pause the video. Get out your Little Brown Handbook. Turn to chapter 31. Look at that 2-page tan chart. Look at the second page of the chart that lists all the different formats for setting up your quote. So what you'll see there is 3 different options for setting up a quote. Remember that quotes are like guest speakers, so you have to say something about them. You have to let me know who's talking, possibly who they're talking to, or where they're standing, or what's going on, or else your reader is going to be confused. You can do that in 3 different places. You can do it before Santa says, ho, ho, ho. You can do it afterwards in kind of a post-introduction, ho, 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 says Santa. Or you can even do an interruption, ho, 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 says Santa, and Happy New Year. Now, one of these is better for analytical essays, and the other 2 are worse. We are always going to use the introductory format. We are not going to post-introduce. We are not going to introduce with an interruption. The reason is because in a formal analytical essay, our job is to argue a point in a really logical fashion. And so when we present our quote, any kind of special identifying information, background context, we need to say that before the quote shows up, or we've already confused our reader. For instance, if your quote is, I hate it when he does that, I need to know who the I is, who's speaking, who the he is, who's being talked about, what the that is, and I need to know those things before the quote. So we are only going to use the introductory format. Now, what Little Brown calls the introductory setup is the phrase I've used. They call them signals. Of course, that makes sense. We're signaling, we're letting you know that the quote's about to drop in. We're letting you know everything that you need to know about who's speaking and so forth. So, look carefully at your Little Brown Handbook. There is a little section that gives you 3 different examples of introductory signal phrases. I've given each one of those types of signal a nickname. So let's go back to those. You've got what I've called speaker says. I don't remember what the example is in Little Brown, but you're looking at it right now. You can see how this is similar to one of them. Santa says, and then you have the quote. We call that our speaker says setup. It needs a comma. Nothing else but a comma, and don't skip the comma. We're going to think about the comma as the moment when the speaker takes their breath. Santa says, ho, 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 or whatever. Method number 2. Full sentence setup. This is most useful when you have a lot of context that you would like to present before the speaker starts speaking. We call it the full sentence setup because it's a full sentence that stands all by itself. The jolly fat man had only one thing to say. End of thought. We could put a period there, but instead we're using this to set up our quote. So think about that bottom dot of the colon as being the period. We could end the sentence there if we wanted to. It would sound normal, but we're adding the second dot in order to turn it into a colon so that that full sentence actually functions as an introduction to the quote. Full sentence setup with a colon, not a semicolon. Let me show you what that is in case you've forgotten. That's a semicolon, has a comma at the bottom and a dot at the top. No, semicolons are not for introducing. Full sentence setup needs a colon. Third option is what I have called the drop-in. We take a quote, or sometimes just a piece of a quote, and we drop it into the sentence that we're already writing. What did I write? Saying ho, ho, ho makes Santa sound jolly. It does not need any additional kind of punctuation, unless your sentence needs it. In this case, this sentence just needs a capital S for saying and a period at the end of jolly. So we are not going to throw in any additional punctuation. We just drop the quote in and keep on going. So those are your three options. Make sure that when you write your exam papers and when you take your exam test, because I'm going to have you do this on the test as well. Last time I tested you with a multiple choice and a lot of people couldn't figure it out. You need to have this figured out by exam week. No excuses. So you need to be prepared to set up all of your quotations with an introductory signal, either a signal phrase or a signal clause. You can see the examples in your little brown handbook. You've got three choices. Speaker says comma, full sentence setup colon, or drop it in with no extra punctuation. At the end of the sentence, make sure that you are doing your final punctuation, your citation in parentheses, the abbreviation for page or paragraph or whatever it is that you need to abbreviate. Double check all that stuff as well. The spaces need to be in the right place. The punctuation needs to be in the right place. The citation needs to be accurate. If you need to check up on your MLA formatting, you can turn over to chapter 47. We've been working with this stuff all year long. You've probably used it also in 8th grade and in 7th grade. So next week, I want to see perfection in quotes and in cites. And yes, you are fully capable of doing that. It is less complicated than learning to drive. So good luck, and I will see you for exams.